This is one of the very short stories for kids in English. Scott, the snake, had just born 2 months ago. He had not seen anyone except his mother. Scott sighed. He had lived in the forest for the whole month. He had yet to find any animals like himself. "Don't be sad, Scott," his mother said. "You'll find someone like you. Go out and talk to the animals that you meet." "I guess I could do that," Scott sighed. He slithered out of the house to explore. Scott's first stop was the pond. There, he met Frankie the Fish. Scott noticed that Frankie the Fish didn't have any legs just like him. "Hey, you are like me," Scott said. "You don't have legs and you have scales like me too." "That's right. We have something in common," Frankie said. "We're still different because I swim and you slither." Scott said goodbye to Frankie and crawled away. Soon, he came upon Alice the alligator. "You're not like me because you have legs," Scott said. "True," Alice replied. "But I have scales like you and I can crawl. We're not as different as you think." Scott said goodbye to Alice and crawled away. He climbed up a tall tree to get a better view of the forest. There, he met Marco the monkey. "Well, you're definitely not like me," Scott said. "You have 4 legs, fur, and a tail. Plus, you can't walk." "You're right. But we have one thing in common," Marco said. "We both can climb." Also, in the tree was Betty the bat. "Did you climb this tree, too?" asked Scott. "No. I have wings and I flew to this tree," Betty said. "I have 2 legs and fur, too." "I am not like you." Scott climbed down from the tree and crawled through more of the forest. He decided to rest on what he thought was a large, furry rock. "Hey, what do you think you are doing?" the rock said as Scott was crawling on top of it. "I didn't know rocks could talk," Scott said, surprised. "I'm not a rock. I'm Benny the bear," he said. "Oh, I'm sorry," Scott replied. "I thought you were a rock. I've been crawling through the forest looking for animals like me, and I was going to stop and rest. Well, I have fur, 4 legs, and I walk. I'm definitely not a rock and I'm also not like you," Benny said. "Sorry to bother you," Scott said. "It's okay," Benny said. "Have you met my friend Patty the python yet?" "No, I haven't met any pythons yet," Scott replied. Benny told Scott to stay there while he went to get his friend. When he came back, Patty the python was following him. Scott's eyes lit up. "You don't have any legs and you crawl and you have scales," Scott said excitedly. "You are like me." "That's right. I'm a snake. Just like you," Patty replied. Scott, Patty and Benny played together all day. Betty, Marco and Alice joined them, too. When Scott got home later, his mom asked if he had found what he was looking for. "Yes, I met a python named Patty. She was just like me," Scott said. "But I also met a bear named Benny, a monkey named Marco, a bat named Betty, an alligator named Alice. And a fish named Frankie, Scott continued. Even they weren't like me. They were fun to play with. I'm glad you had a fun day, Scott, his mother said. I sure did, Scott said. I can't wait to play with Patty and my other new friends again tomorrow. Here is a short visual depiction of one of the very short stories for kids in English. Are you like me? Very short stories for kids in English video.